Good morning. Welcome to Koil Baker. Good Chodesh. Today is the first day of 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, new month of Tammuz, very special month. This Shabbos is Gimel Tammuz, which is the 25th yard site, Hilula of the Rebbe. It's a very auspicious day. And if you're around, join us here on Shabbos for a special Farbrengen, which is not going to be live because we can't use computers and phones, and you should try it sometime. Plug out or unplug for a Shabbos. It's a wonderful thing. Today, we're going to learn a little bit Gemara, a little Talmud. We're calling it a Taste of Talmud. It's been a request that we do a lot of Parsha, and there is indeed a lot of Parsha to do. And it's never ending, like all parts of Torah. It goes on and on. There's infinite depth of learning. However, today we're going to do a little bit of Talmud, Gemara. Today's class is available for dedication. And if you'd like to dedicate a class, let us know in memory of a loved one, in honor of an occasion, or for the merit of someone's good health. The Gemara we're going to learn today is Baba Mitzia, and it's Daf Chav Beis Amud Beis. It's page 22, the second side. And a little background of what we're talking about here. The Mishnah has taught that if someone found bundles, if someone found bundles in a public domain, he's able to keep it, which means as follows. If somebody finds a lost object, the biblical command, you have to try to find the owner. And the way that you find the owner is through calling out. In the times of the Beis HaMikdash, there was a certain place where you went and you announced that I have a certain object that I found. The person who lost object and an object would come to the central location and say the various signs that he has on his object. Let's use, you lost your phone, okay? So you go to this place and someone says, hey, I found the phone. Well, I lost the phone. What kind of phone was it? And it'll tell you that it was an iPhone. What type? Did it have any identifying marks on it? All iPhones look the same. Well, yes, I had this type of case, or I had a scratch, or I had a crack on my screen, and all of these identifying features, and the finder says, hey, I'm sure it's yours. And this way, he gives it back to him. Therefore, if you have a piece of an object that you found, and it doesn't have any identifying symbols on it, there is no way to identify whose it belongs to. It's still in the package, for example. Or it's cash. You found a $20 bill on the street. How is it possible to prove that it's there? Someone can announce and say, hey, I lost $20. And you'll say, hey, I found. How are you gonna figure out if it's him or if he's lying? Right? So sometimes you could figure out.
Wrote his name on a bill.
If he wrote his name on his bill and then he went to the store and bought something with it, and the store owner lost it, or someone got change from the store and found it, doesn't help. There are ways to do it. If it was a bundle of cash and he could tell you exactly how many bills were in there, what the denominations were, it was in a wallet, what type of wallet was it, there are ways to deal with it. But the point I'm trying to bring out is when you have an object that has no identifying features on it, and you find that, you could keep it. Okay? Now, the Mishnah tells us that if you find kriches, you find bundles in a public domain, they're his, a person gets to keep it. Okay. Now here's the Gemara. Amar Rabba. Rabba said, even if it's something which has a siman on it, okay, you found bundles in a public domain, you're walking down Michigan Avenue, and you find a bundle of wheat, you could keep it. You don't even have to go searching for the owner. Now, part of the reasoning why you don't have to search for the owner is very fascinating. If someone gives up on their lost object, then the finder gets to keep it. It's a concept called yiush. A person has given up. If a person gave up on the object, for example, I lost cash. And I was a little bit annoyed for a while, but at some point I said, you know what, I'm never going to find it. Who's going to return the $20 bill that I lost?
Depends for who's.
So correct. But if you lost it on Michigan Avenue and you got home, you're like, hey, I lost my $20. You don't expect to get the $20 back. So you have given up in your mind. You said, listen, it's lost, right? It's over. once that takes place, the finder is legitimately able to keep it, because the person that lost it has given up hope on ever finding it. And therefore, things that don't have identifying features, the loser, the person that lost the object, gives up. But Rabbah tells us that when you find bundles in a public domain, you could keep it, as the Mishnah says, refers to even something that has an identifying feature on it. It's called a siman. Even something that has a siman on it, is you're able to keep it. Says the Gemara, Alma, you see from here, Kosova Rabbah, that Rabbah is of the opinion that siman ha'asuli doreis lo yahavi siman. There is a concept called a siman, an identifying feature, but then you have a concept of the type of identifying feature, the type of siman, which will probably get trampled on. Okay, if you lost a bundle of wheat in a public domain on Michigan Avenue and everyone's walking around it, by the time someone finds it, it'll be rubbed out, it'll be stepped on, the thing will be ruined, and there won't be a way to identify it. So Rabbah, who tells us that even if it has an identifying feature on it, he must be talking about, says the Gemara, a sign. If it's a sign, you can't keep it. You have to try to find the owner. Rather, he must be talking about a certain type of sign that will get trampled on. And he's of the opinion that if it's a symbol that gets trampled on, it's not considered a siman, because the guy gives up anyways, for he feels that it's going to be, hello, Michael, because it's going to be trampled on. And by the time the person finds it, I'll have no identifying proof. Right? I had my name on it. I had a stamp on it. It's great, but it's on Michigan Avenue. It's gone. Okay. But if you lost your wallet on Michigan Avenue and people are stepping on it, and your name is inside, or you have some type of other identifying feature, just because people stand on it doesn't mean that it's not identifiable anymore. So the Gemara now says, we've had this question for a long time. What's the deal with a siman, which based on where you lost it, and based on the type of siman that it is, it will get trampled on and get ruined? Is it a siman or not? From the fact that Rabbah says, the fact that he tells us that you could keep it if you found something in the public domain, which is bundles of wheat, even if it has a siman, tells us that he is of the opinion that what? That is it a good siman or not? It's not a good siman, and that's why you could keep it. Because if it was a good siman, then let's say it was a barrel, and the barrel had certain patterns on it, certain numbers on it. That's a sign, whether it's in public domain or not. But a bundle of wheat, keep okay. That's what the Gemara says right now.
But do we have also the idea where it's lost? Like if it's lost.
Correct, but we're talking now about the type of identifying feature that it is. Okay. Aval b'davar. So we see from here that similar. Okay. Rava Amar. Rava, who argues on Rabbah, he says, Rava says, wait a second. This Mishnah, which says that if you find something, bundles in a public domain, you could keep it, only talks about a case where there's no feature on it, no siman, and no identifying feature. Not because it gets ruined or trampled on. If there's no identifying feature, you could keep it. If there is, you cannot keep it. Okay, that's what Rava says. So Rava is arguing with our conclusion about Rabbah. But if it has a sign on it, then you have to keep it. You have to announce it. Alma, Kosava Rabbah, does have a siman. So you see from here that a sign, according to Rava, which will get trampled on, is still a siman. Because Rava does not make a differentiation if it's the type of symbol, type of sign, type of siman, which will get trampled on or won't get trampled on. It doesn't matter. It's still a sign, because there may be something left or whatever. But if you find it and it has no siman, then you could keep it. If not, then you could keep it.
So, is it also quantified with period of time? Because I'll give you an example. If you lost tomatoes, even in the Simmons, if in 2 days nobody's coming back to take it, it's going to be rotten anyway. So
We're going to talk about food a little bit later. The Gemara has another section about finding food. This is bundles of wheat, which is not really so perishable, like if you lost bread or fruit.
Right.
Or so, excuse me. Okay,
That's why I bought the tomato example.
that's good. Just don't throw the tomatoes.
Huh?
Okay. The Gemara says, there are those that learn this section of Gemara on its own. They just say the following. If you have a identifying feature, which, based on where it was lost and based on the type of siman that it is, it will get trampled on. Rava Amar Le'av siman. Rava holds that it's not a siman. It's not worth anything, and therefore, if you find it, you can keep it. Rabba says it's not a siman, and Rava says it is a siman. Okay, fine. That's the concept. Now we're going to try to disprove one of these opinions, to try to bring a proof from a Mishnah that the other person is correct. Here's what I mean. When there's an machlekes, when there's an argument about something, and this argument is in the Talmud, it's in the Gemara, if you find a source, a Mishnaic source, which is earlier, then we go according to what the Mishnah says. Unless we will explain the context of what this Amira, this Talmudic sage, is talking about. So here we have a Mishnah which tends or seems like it's going to disprove one of these opinions. Again, Rabbah says a sign which will be trampled on is not a sign. It's not worth anything, and therefore the finder could keep it. Rava says that if you trample on this thing, it's still a siman. Okay, can we take some type of Mishnah and prove if a sign which will be trampled on is worth a symbol or not? Okay. So what does the Mishnah say? Tanan. If you have bundles in Rosh Hashanah, you can keep it. If you found it in a private domain could even mean like a park, something small, the back of a shul, something, a smaller context, private domain. If you found it over there, it's not the highway, it's not a major thoroughfare, then you could keep it. You have to announce it. So the Mishnah says, if you found it in a public domain, you get to keep it. If you found it in a private domain, you have to go find out whose it is. So let's find out, what is this Mishnah talking about? Because it's very cryptic. It doesn't tell us great detail. It's just telling us basic information. You found bundles of wheat in a public domain, keep it. In a private domain, go try to figure it out, find out who the owner is. Announce it, hang up signs, try to find the owner. Hechidan, what is it talking about? If it's talking about a situation that it doesn't have any siman, the less behu siman, it has no identifying feature, then b'shus hayachid, my machris, what are you going to announce in a private domain? Again, the Mishnah tells us, you found a bundle of wheat, okay, some type of bundle, in a public domain, the Mishnah says, keep it. It's yours. If you found the same thing in a private domain, go be machris, go announce, try to figure out where this who it might belong to, who lost it. Try to find the owner. Okay. What is this talking about? If there's a sign on it, then why could you keep it in a public domain? Right? If you have a sign, you got to try to find the owner, no matter where you found it. You can find something on Michigan Avenue. You have to go try to find the owner. If Reiv Yisrael. Okay? And if you find it in a private domain, and it doesn't have a siman, that's why you said in a public domain you could keep it, then why do you have to announce it? Again, let's go back to the principle here. The principle is that if you have an object that you found, okay, it's a keychain with keys on it, and there's a library card and color coding keys, right? And you find this, and the keys are very identifiable, right? Then you have to announce, I found a keychain with keys on it. Did you lose it? And some guy comes along and says, hey, I lost it. Well, prove it. Well, the keychain that I lost has 10 keys on it. It has this type of color on it. It has these type of keys. And if he could prove to you that it's his, you give it to him. But what if it's blank keys? Or it's cash? Or it's something you just got from the store, it's in the package. You don't have a way to identify it necessarily. There's ways to do it in a package if it's in a bag or it's with something else. But let's assume for a second that you found it. Okay, so again, the principle is, the halacha is, if you're not able to find the owner because there are no identifying features on it, then you could keep it no matter where you find it. In public, in private, not in someone's house, obviously. But if you found something, you get to keep it. If there is an identifying feature, there is a siman on it, then you have to go put in a classified ad. Or in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, you went to the special stone. It was a center that you went and announced it, and you try to find the owner. Now, if no owner shows up and a certain amount of time passes, and you announced it many times without getting into all the details, then you can still keep it.
That's Bereshut Hayachid, or
No, in any case, if there's a siman, if there's an identifying feature, you are required biblically to go try to find the owner. If there's no siman on it, there's no way to prove it, whether the location, which is the discussion is location of siman, or the amounts, whatever, other ways, but there's no identifying feature, keep it. You don't have to return it. But now we have a Mishnah which says a strange thing. If you found it in a public domain, keep it. In a private domain, go announce it. So how is it possible? If it has a sign, then it doesn't matter if it's public or private. You have to find the owner. And if it doesn't have a sign, then you can keep it regardless of where it is. So you must be talking about a very specific case. And the Gemara wants to say that what this Mishnah must be talking about, the type of siman, the type of symbol that ha'osuli dares, which will get trampled on. And the Mishnah says that a type of siman, which will get trampled on, if it's in a public place, which will be trampled on beyond identity, then you could keep it. If it's in a private place, then it's not so trampled on. There aren't so many people going there. It's, let's say, like I said, in a park and something like that. It's not so public. So you can still identify it. So what do you see from here? That the Mishnah feels that a sign which will be trampled on is a valid sign or is not a valid sign. It's not a valid sign. And that's why the Mishnah feels that if you lost it in a public domain, the finder could keep it. Because it's going to get trampled on, it's not worth anything. In a private domain, if it gets trampled on, you have to announce it because it's not really so trampled. So we had a machlekes before, we had an argument. Rabbah said a siman that will get trampled on is not considered to be a sign. And Rava says it is considered. This Mishnah seems to imply that it's not considered a sign. Because in a public domain where it will be trampled on, we said he could keep it. That's our story. So who are we disproving here? Rava. So to Yufta de Rava, we now have a disprove, a question on Rava. Because Rava said it is a siman. And we see from here that it's not a siman. Again, the way that we see it from here is because the Mishnah differentiated. Public domain, keep it. Private domain, same case, announce it. So it must have a certain type of siman. What type of siman does it have? The kind that gets ruined when you trample on it. And that's why in a public domain it'll be trampled on. We say keep it. It's not a siman. And in a private domain we say it's not enough people, not enough traffic there, so it's not going to be trampled on. So you have to announce it.
Well, maybe it's the chance to identify the person who lost the objects is greater in the private domain than in a public domain. And therefore...
Okay, see, you have a point. You're asking that the pool of people that we're going after...
Exactly.
Okay, fine. It's a question. But when you find a person, anyone shows up, we also have to make sure there's no fraudsters here, right? Someone says, oh, you lost... I lost something. You found a laptop? It's my laptop. Prove it. Can you prove it or not? And if you can't prove it, not because you can't prove it, because it's not provable, then I can keep it without even announcing it. So, but our issue now is that we have a question on Rava. Rava said that a siman which gets trampled on is a siman. And here we feel that it's not a siman.
I think it's a multiple levels of issues.
Definitely, yeah, it is for sure.
And
It's complex, and there's many ways of looking at it.
Your diuk on the different levels is important.
For sure.
But
for
I
sure.
think it's all combined.
Yeah. Let's look at what the Gemara will answer. Rava will stick up for Rava, so to speak. Amar Rava will tell you, the truth is, this Mishnah that you're trying to use to disprove me is talking about a case where there is no identifying object in this situation. If so, why are you telling me that if I found it in a private domain, I have to announce it? If there's no siman, I might have to announce it. He says, because mokem have a siman. The location is a siman. I lost it on the corner next to the monkey bars. Okay? Location is a siman. So when you say, hey, I found the laptop, and I tell you, yes, I lost the laptop. I was sitting in Starbucks, and I left it on the table. And you say, yes, I found it in Starbucks on the table, so keep it. It's a private domain. It's public in the sense that anyone could go there, but it's not just a rabbin. So Rabba, however, will tell you that location is not a valid sign. You need a sign on the object or the way the object was placed. The location of the object is not enough. But here's the catch. In a public domain, location won't work. Because imagine you lost your something on Michigan Avenue. You know how many times it was moved? How many people walk by there? In the airport, it's moved. So I'm going to come and say, I lost it by Terminal 2. Yeah, Terminal 2, nice guess. But you know how many people walk by there and kicked it and moved it and pushed it? It's not there anymore. Right? Or on this chair. And that's why the Mishnah says, if it's in a private domain, Mokim is a siman. Location is good enough. If it's in a public domain, location is good. But location is not it's not here anymore. Because it gets so kicked around. Follow? So we don't have a disprove. We're still back at square one. We have a machlekes. When you have a siman on an object, which based on where it was lost and based on the type of object that it is and based on the identifying features on it, it's going to get trampled on. Can we consider that a valid identifying feature or not? Rabba says not, and Rabba says yes. Okay, let's take some questions. Those that are watching, those that are here.
Today, there is a solution to this precise identifications because most cities have cameras. You can track down with the camera to find out exactly what the person lost.
But nobody gonna do it.
No, I'm just saying there is a solution.
Okay,
technology,
so,
there is a solution.
That's great. If you could identify it, then there's not a problem.
Yeah.
What about Photoshop?
Yeah, because it's all facial recognitions. They can track it down. How Smollett? How did they find this Smollett?
Okay. There's also many cases of theft and other things, which all the video camera they can't. You know how many times the police department comes here to look at our footage outside because someone who broke something probably ran that direction, this direction, whether it's the front or the back, and there's a lot of cameras.
It's not. Can split. Of course, you can split it. You can argue that one way or another way.
It could work.
It's not a clear cut, but a reasonable person can see multiple circumstance that it's not circumstances anymore. You know what I'm saying?
In theory, right.
But what the Gemara says, I think that's why they categorize public to private, because they saw this problem, okay? They envisioned this problem. And then you just quantify that as
yes, however, there is a great distinction between public and private, because you can't forget, one of the principles of allowing you to keep a lost object is that the person that lost it gave up on it. He was miyayish. And sometimes where he lost it causes him to give up on it. If you lost your phone in shul, okay, you hope to find it. If you lost it on the train, maybe a phone is different because it's very, you can find the person's phone number. But it depends where you lost it. Where you lost it has a lot to do, not just because what will be in the future with
So the
With
question,
technology.
there is another question here. What if you מתייאש